we are live right now. Awesome. This is the first time that Hannah is joining us. Hopefully, the first of many times that she will be joining us on these.
Yeah.
Hannah is somebody I've worked with and done some interesting webinars with before. And so why don't we kick it off with you, Hannah? What do you have on your mind in the digital marketing and automation space?
Yeah, so thank you, Eric. It's so nice to, be here with everyone. So one thing that I came across kind of my desk recently is called the pitch slap. Have you guys maybe been victims or done it yourself? Okay. So
maybe. We'll find out.
So I'm going to explain it here, and I bet you guys may have done it, no pointing fingers here, but the pitch slap is how many of you have maybe connected with someone on LinkedIn, or maybe, you've gone to a website, you got invited to some awesome exclusive group, and then the first thing someone messaged you with was, hi, here's my offer. Look at all these stats here. Buy this from me. Hey, purchase this. Hey, do this. You get slapped across the face, right, with that?
Yep,
so you got pitch slapped, okay?
Yeah.
So,
I like it.
I came across a term recently, never had a term for it, but I love it. It's very aptly fitting. And you know what? I am mentioning it because a few months ago, when I transitioned full-time into consulting, I realized that I was pitch slapping people a little bit. And someone very nicely told me, and I went, wow, great. Let me redo my strategy. But I'm kind of obsessed with the term pitch slap right now.
Well, so can I tell you, there was a couple months ago, I got this guy reaches out to me, and I was I knew he was going to pitch me at some point, but he actually did it. He started out, he says, he connects with me, and then he says, his first question was something like, hey, I'm doing some research on how people are using LinkedIn for advertising or for, outreach or whatever. What topics are you most interested in? And then I responded, and I don't know what I said, but I said, here's what I'm thinking about, and here's what I'd like to learn more about. And then he responded with something that made no sense at all, which is when I realized I wasn't even being pitch slapped by him. I was being pitch slapped by his bot, which, was something I didn't.
The low of all lows. Yeah.
It's a thing. Like this guy, Jeff and I were on a call just yesterday with a guy, and he's like, oh, he had talked to Jeff before, and he said, oh, Eric, we've actually been connected for a while. It must have been my bot. So his bot actually, we had connected through his bot a while before.
Well,
I've actually saying that people actually have bots that connect on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
Do you see a benefit in owning one? Should I get myself one?
For your company or for yourself?
I want to hear Hannah's take on this, because I am fascinated with this question, because I've been having this ongoing conversation with a couple people about the use of bots, and I'm just Hannah, what is your take on the use of bots?
So great question. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them, right? So the whole pitch slapping, that's a really bad use of a bot, right? Because sometimes they are bots, sometimes they're real people, like, me, I made that mistake. But, bots can be helpful if you have a really, really niche, audience segmentation. I think if you really know your offerings, you have 2 or 3 kind of clear routes that you're going, it can make sense to maybe start the conversation. So I like to maybe implement a bot so you can connect with someone. Great, you know what they're doing, and then maybe send them one automated message, but then don't use a bot for the second or third message, right? You need personal. You can have an opener bot. You can have maybe a closing kind of message for your bot, but
second message. Pitch slapping second after you pitch slapping the other cheek, not a good.
No, it doesn't work ever. It never is going to close you ever.
But the other thing is either LinkedIn or same for email. You would just do a bot for ice breaking.
You could do a bot for both, but the other thing that I'm obsessed with right now is I think emailing is dead. I think email marketing in general. I've seen a lot.
You can't throw that out without.
Well, okay. We need to come up with an offer instead, right? Because the universe relies on it.
Yeah. So what do you, when you say email is dead though, what has died about email?
So you have, I don't know about you, but I know when it's about 4 or 4:30 in the morning because my phone starts going off with emails. And that's how I know it is 4 or 4:30 because all of my, East Coast or West Coast or wherever, they start inundating my inbox. My phone goes off and I go, man, I have almost no time to sleep, right? And then my inbox is just constantly getting pings every hour on the hour until I go to sleep. So I have to start, muting my phone and, muting my inbox and such. And so your inbox, I don't know about you, but I mass click and delete all the time, right?
I also unsubscribe even.
Oh yeah, I just cleaned out my inbox, a little spring cleaning there, and I unsubscribed to so many companies just because I was getting 5 emails a day from them even sometimes. So emailing, no one's paying attention to email anymore for the most part. And the other fact about email being dead, I'll call it a little funeral for it, is that it's a lot harder for people to start emailing you now. So Gmail and a lot of your other servers, they've cracked down on mass emailing. So even if you have opted into email, your emails might be going to spam. Yeah. So is email even effective?
Not necessarily a great thing, yeah. Well, I definitely like this concept of inbox zero, and like if it's garbage, it's like I think I actually got to zero the other day for the first time in like weeks, which I feel like really accomplished about. But like it's hard and it's just mostly garbage. And so it's like the first thing I want to do when I look at my email is click all the stuff I don't have to deal with. And if that's somebody I don't know or don't recognize, or they start their email off with even the remotest thing that tells me this is not somebody I know or want to, like, it's gone. It's never going to be of interest to me.
So I was having this conversation. I was working with this client a couple months ago, and I was having this conversation with their SDRs, and I was like, you have to understand, because you just come out of like a corporate role, but it doesn't, it's true for anyone, right? I was like, you have to understand, like, the number one thing that I am trying to do when an email gets in front of me is delete it. That's my number one. So I said to them, you can spend all the time in the world crafting a beautiful email, but if you screw up the subject line, it's toast. I'm never going to open it the moment I figure out that this is something that I'm probably not interested in. And then I think, and I do this too, but there's this tendency to write really long emails. And so the second thing I do is if I do actually click and open the email and it's super long, I'm like, no, forget it. It's not worth it. So that's kind of my.
Elena,
sorry, Eric. I just wanted to mention that's where I utilize my ChatGPT a lot. I put in the email and I say, edit it to this many words, and then Chat edits, I edit myself, then I'm pleased. I mean, granted, I hear you, Hannah. I'm not exactly pleased that I have to do email, but in my case, the audiences are so tight and hard to find. Other than that, I kind of have to. But then I actually have ChatGPT recommend 15 subject lines and then another 15 subject lines. So I actually kind of select from that in hopes that there's some additional creativity from ChatGPT. Hi, Cat.
She says hello down here. And you know what? I absolutely love that use of ChatGPT. And it can be, real hit or miss if you're not crafting your prompts to it well. But I love that. I do that as well. I kind of do a creativity, back and forth with it, and recommend me those email subject lines, recommend me a closer, recommend me a high performing CTA, right? And it can help with that and give me some really great ideas.
Yeah. I have not used ChatGPT that way, but I am going to use it in my next email to Eric. I'm just
You can throw me in.
Have you guys seen this thing now that, like, when you put your thumbs up, it like starts putting like bubbles on your, I don't know, Elena, just
not on mine.
It just did it to you. I don't know.
I have not noticed that, huh?
It's the second time I've seen it today. It was the first time I've seen it. Anyway.
I have to say, like these video apps are getting a little bit too clever. I was on a call the other day with this guy who's very serious, like former boss of mine. I'm chatting with him, and he made a gesture that looked something like this, but it wasn't like
It wasn't Taylor Swift.
He wasn't doing that, but somehow it like decided that's what he was saying, and like hearts just bursted out of the screen.
That's awesome.
And then there's
you're trying to be serious, right?
Well, and then there's this one guy actually that I think Hannah, Eric, you both know this guy Corey, who every time he gets on Zoom, just randomly in the middle of the call for no reason that we could discern, confetti would just pop. Anyway, I have no idea.
A very celebratory character. What are you gonna say?
So I feel like we just keep grilling Hannah because you're new. It's like we're hazing you or something here. But I guess my question for you is, if email is dead, what's next? Like, where would you focus energy now?
I wish I was the expert, but that has me a little bit stumped as well. I'm not going to lie, because what's the alternative to email? It's typically your SMS or your text, right? And I am getting a lot of texts on my phones from, people who have me also ads, and I look at it, see it's an ad, and I just put it down. So I'm, the victim of having 50 or so unread messages on my phone because a lot of them are ads and spam, and I don't click on them. So, if email's dead,
unsubscribe is your friend. Go ahead, Elena.
Oh, I was gonna say, in my case, I actually consider it more invasive when they text me. Is that universal, or is it just me?
No, I have that same reaction. To me, there's like a hierarchy of urgency, right? It's like email is like super low urgency, but like if even when I was at work, like it was even a little weird if somebody unless they needed me right away, from my team or whatever, I did not want that. Like, I'd rather them Slack me, or in that case it was Teams or whatever, but like to use my cell phone is like you are basically saying that you're either my very close friend, my family, or something really terrible has happened and I need you right now. And so I find it very invasive, and I find it super annoying because I get bombarded. I don't know, at some point I must have given too much money to politicians, because I get hit with the politician ones. Like, I'm like, I don't care about the Senate race in Alaska, the local Senate race in Alaska. I just don't care, but they're sending it to me. I don't know. It's kind of wacky, but I agree with you, Elena. It's super annoying.
So do you feel the same way about a phone call or text? If it's kind of like a spam or a salesy phone call versus the text?
Well, so here's the thing I feel about phone calls is I never answer a phone call from a number that I don't know. So I find that annoying, but I just ignore it. What I find more annoying and invasive about the texts is that they get through because it's a text. And so now I've got this message popping up, and it's actually really annoying. Like, if I'm running, when I run, I listen to books, it will interrupt my book to read to me those insanely long political or whatever things. And I'm like, stop. Like, what? Anyway. I don't know,
know what? Another interesting thought I have, to me, if you have a good product, you have to really think hard on how you're approaching your audience and not cheapen your offering by just trashing. And to me, a phone call, to a personal sell, I find it invasive. And like Jeff, I don't pick it up. A personal text, I also find it invasive. Work call, okay, but still, I think it's very important to just select the right channel and be proud of your product and be proud of your offering, and just say, I'm here to help you, not to annoy you.
Right.
Yeah.
Agree. And one of the things, just jumping back to whether it's LinkedIn or email or whatever, one of the things that I do every once in a while, which I find a little bit fun, is I turn it on its head. So somebody sends me the pitch slap email, and like, actually this guy with the bots that Eric was talking about, he sent a perfectly nice LinkedIn, thing through his bot. And the reason we ended up getting on the phone was because I actually shot him back a note, and I said, listen, I don't have any money, but I'm happy to get on the phone with you to talk about, these other things. And he's like, sure. And so we ended up having a really nice conversation. And then he and Eric and I had a conversation. But it was kind of like I turned the pitch on its head. Now I will tell you that a lot of times that makes people go away. If you sort of say, yeah, I don't know what you're trying to sell me, but I have something to sell you back. They go away really fast.
So can I add into the mix? Because Hannah, I know you're a big fan of HubSpot. I'm sorry, I went all coder there for a second. HubSpot and and the automation piece of this. I'd love to hear what's sort of like the thing that you're obsessed with on the HubSpot side right now. Like what's working for you there?
So I'm going to tailor my answer because HubSpot, if you guys are familiar or not, HubSpot is rolling out a bunch of really cool changes and updates to their pricing. It's more affordable. They're redoing a lot of their hubs. Really amazing. Check it out. Little plug for HubSpot, not affiliated, right? But I love HubSpot. So one thing that I love utilizing is their workflows and their sequences. And so we can tie this back into the kind of automated or semi-automated sequences for people, right? So I love crafting those really niche segmented workflows for people. And then I like to follow by an 80-20 rule. So you're going to give 80% of the time, and then you're going to ask or do a little take only 20% of the time. So going back to Elena's point, you want to give, you want to let your product speak for itself. You want to let it solve the problem for your audience. And then I'm going to give you.
Oh, we lost Hannah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, looks like she froze a little bit.
Maybe it's like a competitor to HubSpot.
Well, I use Zoho competitor to HubSpot. I wish I actually used HubSpot. I definitely second Hannah in that sequences in Zoho is kind of older and clunkier, but even in Zoho are very clever. Now, given I'm more of a product marketer, so on this subject, I actually had to self-tutor. But yeah, I sat on a YouTube and self-tutored on how to make Zoho sequences. So I would love to have a chat with Hannah because I bet she knows how to make it better.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get her back in a second.
Yeah, looks like
all the distance that she has to travel since she's a little further out west.
Yeah, either that or the cat turned off the light.
Yeah. Well, it could be the cat. Let's blame the cat. Well, I will say it's interesting because I've been using HubSpot a lot. I built my website on HubSpot, and I have not figured out how to use all these cool sequences that Hannah was talking about. But there's a lot of really interesting things that you can do in there, and it's funny because Eric keeps, as we've talked about before, Eric keeps doing like rogue marketing, and so what's interesting is he does the rogue marketing, but then he has to come to me and say like, well, how's it doing? And so I can see like whether because you can literally see like have people submitted the forms or have people what have people done, and then you can shoot them emails and automate all that stuff and whatever. It's definitely a really cool tool, and it's fascinating their business model because a lot of the initial tools are free because they want you to get sort of really connected and involved, but then as you sort of progress, the charges go up and so forth. It's a really smart business model because like for me, it's a great tool. I'm not going to spend, the thousands of dollars a month kind of thing. But it's definitely a good opportunity. So do we have Hannah back?
I don't know if we have her back, but we have a little circle that's representative of Hannah back. She hopefully
there she is.
All right. We were talking about love for HubSpot and less love for Zoho. So that's all you missed.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on Zoho. That's my soapbox right now. Is setting up and integrating Zoho. Who's working with Zoho?
I am.
Do you like it?
I don't, but I don't have any other option. Zoho is clunkier. Zoho is older. Zoho has absolutely problems between leads and accounts. I have a lot of problems there, but that's what I have to deal with. So I find creative ways. And actually, at some point offline, I would love to do a little tutorial with you, because I do use sequences in Zoho, clunky as they are, and would love to know better how I can step up my Zoho comms, because that's really what I've got at this point and in period.
My way of dealing with the workflow is this, as Jeff said, but when Hannah, when you fell off, is like I do rogue ads on for Jeff's company, and then I use Jeff as the automated workflow to analyze the data.
And the problem is I still don't. I mean, listen, like I have been in marketing for what, 20 whatever years, I won't even say, but I've been in marketing for 20 whatever years, and I never had to do any of that because we were, consumer marketers. And then by the time this stuff was, like even getting done, like I had like a team that did it, whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know how to do any of this. So now I'm just kind of like relearning.
Right, that's what YouTube is for,
Yeah. I am a heavy user of like I don't know how to do this on HubSpot, but I will just Google it and see what happens, or I use although I have to say that was one thing that I sometimes don't love is I have a very specific problem that's not quite working. Like I was trying to understand something about their payments functionality last week, and it wasn't. I kept typing into their little, whatever chat bot or whatever, and I was asking it questions, and it was giving me the wrong topic. It wasn't answering it. It actually turned out the answer to this particular problem was just to wait until the next day when they had actually set it up properly. But I did not know that. And so anyway, but I am definitely a HubSpot fan. And it's funny because they keep sending me automated emails claiming that I'm one of their, most prolific users. And I'm like, I really, really doubt that. But
it's a compliment, my friend.
I have a question, given that Jeff has his rogue bot, which is me that does
rogue
stuff.
bot.
Yeah. So my question for you, and I guess I'm going to start with Hannah on this. What is the craziest sort of automation? Maybe there isn't one, but the craziest thing that's happened because of automation that was like essentially your automation doing something that you didn't expect it to do. Because I imagine you could accidentally have it do something, or send something to the wrong person. Like, does it go rogue?
It does go rogue sometimes, unfortunately, and it depends on what channels that you're using, right? So I really don't dabble in paid ads. I never really have specialized in it, and love the people who do, but I don't have much experience there. So I have ran just one or two very small paid ads before, and they went wonky. And I had no idea what was going on, right? I think you kind of had a wonky one, right, as well. And part of it was getting your audience down and learning how to use it. For me, that was my big barrier, is my ad went weird. It was targeting different groups of people that I didn't expect. It had weird engagement on it for me. No sales or clients from it, right? But I think it was a user error. So I can blame myself for that, just not understanding it. But it just didn't perform how I expected. And then I had a huge learning curve to figure it out. Yeah. The cool thing with HubSpot or Zoho, some of those more sequences that you can tailor in, I like those because it's also all on the user creating them, right? So if my HubSpot sequence or my Zoho sequence goes wrong, for example, it's probably me, and maybe I messed up. Maybe I did something wrong. I put a wrong date in, my sequence to wait. I targeted the wrong segment, or maybe my data is wrong. I need to go back to some data validation. So I like that because I can figure out the solution and I can kind of troubleshoot it more so than paid ads and paid media. If it's out there, it's kind of out there. I have to wait for some third party, some software.
It's definitely like a deep, deep rabbit hole, Google ads. Oh my goodness. There's so much stuff. I actually listened to, because Jeff and I, we need to do, by the way, Jeff, a thing on our obsession with Audible. But but I was listening to a book on Google ads yesterday, and I was just like, oh my God, there's so much that I don't even know that I don't know about this. It is very, very complex and deep.
Yeah,
Well,
you can get very fancy with those, I have to say. The one that I really like is the one that has to do with remarketing, and remarketing not so much in the B2C space where the stupid Nike shoes haunt you for like weeks, but more of a B2B play. If somebody went to my site, preceded that with certain sites of interest, I would like to get back in a conversation with them in some shape or form. So that is the one that I'm actually most interested right now, and they can be built on your site. So I actually think that's a pretty good one for B2B.
well, and bringing this all the way back to the pitch slap point, I mean, the whole point in sales is you are trying to create a relationship with somebody. And so as long as you are providing them some sort of, to your point, Hannah, like some sort of value along the way, sort of that 80-20 kind of rule that you mentioned, as you're providing value, you're creating a relationship with the person, and then they're just going to be more and more likely to be a potential, or a true lead, as opposed to a false lead, I guess. But anyway, so Elena, to your point, it's like we need to figure out it's really cool when the internet is sort of following you around and giving you recommendations that you really could use. Like, that's helpful. What's not as helpful is when it's following around and like it just keeps putting the same thing in front of you. And there was something the other day and I'm like, there's no way that I did anything that could, that told the world that I was interested in, whatever it was.
So I have a fun automation story, and I don't know if it's an automation quirk as in Zoho quirk or somebody made a typo, but we sent an email to one of the customers who is a medical practice through Zoho telling them that they haven't paid their bill. And they replied and they said, well, we really are not a customer, but we have the same practice name. We just, are located in another state, but we would like to talk to you about your products. So we were like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So we started Googling them up, and you would not believe it. It's actually my primary care physician. Completely randomly, Zoho made a typo. And it ended up in a practice that's actually my primary care doctor. How is that for automation?
It's interesting that from a marketing perspective, you like this remarketing thing, because as a consumer and not a marketing person, like it just feels creepy pretty much all the time. Like it's like you're, Jeff, like you said, you don't even know. How did they know that I was looking for like a poker for my fireplace or what? Like, why?
They have been talking to your family about it, and Siri was on.
Yeah. Like,
well, I will. If you want really creepy, at one point, in my last job, we were using this service that it knew what ads had been on your television, your smart television or whatever. It knew what ads had been on the television, and then because they had sort of tied that to cell phone data, they knew which cell phones had been from that household had been to, in our case, your restaurant. And so it literally was essentially going, which was great for us, because we're like, okay, well, now we actually have some data as to whether our advertising is, our houses that are getting our TV ad more likely than the houses that are not getting the TV ad to go to the restaurant is a really, really helpful thing to understand. But man, is that creepy, right? I mean, literally, they're like, they know what you are watching, they know where you're going, and they're telling you, they're basically using that data. Anyway, it's creepy.
I'm gonna turn into like a tinfoil hat doomsday prepper type after that story.
I guess for me, I just kind of have, my view is just like, knock yourself out. I mean, there's really so little of interest in the data of like what Jeff is doing every day. And especially since I now work, from my living room, it's like, you can follow my cell phone all day, but it's not going to be very interesting. So that's my take.
Yeah,
well, guys, we're coming up against the end of the half hour. So as usual, maybe we could do a little quick recap. I don't know, Hannah, want to kick us off?
Oh,
Anything,
all of my
anything that you think was interesting, or anything you want to just highlight in for a quick minute?
Yeah, all of my soapbox things. I love the pitch slap that we talked about and went into depth on. Again, love that term and want to come back to it and think about it, right? So if you guys are doing that, don't pitch slap people. That's going to be my plug for the day. Don't pitch slap people. And if you do get pitch slapped, have some grace with people, right? They might not know that they're doing it. So just have grace with people and some patience. That's going to be my recap.
Yeah. Elena, you want to jump in?
Oh, the superiority of HubSpot over Zoho, and specifics of targeting and drip campaigns and all the good stuff that you can do. So I'm up to my ears in that. So definitely an interest there.
I think our Zoho sponsorship is now gone.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I would just say, you know, I love the pitch slap thing is really interesting, and I'm just gonna build on Hannah's point is, like when somebody does that to you, try turning it on its head and reaching out, especially if you're interested in talking to them, and be like, hey, well, I don't want that your thing, but do you want my thing? You know, anyway, that's
well, my take home from this is that I should just hide under my desk, because you all are me going rogue feels like totally reasonable after I find out how much you all are stalking me as people. So anyway, well, thank you all. As always, this is one of my favorite parts of the week, is chatting on these live streams. So look forward to doing the next one soon. Thanks.
Be well.
Thank you all.
Bye.